Welcome to the Breakaway Show with David and Fabian, where we go live and we tell you about the most current news of the day to get you informed and go deep into the rabbit hole. My name is Fabian Garcia, and we have David with me, of course. Today, we are going to be talking mostly about the destruction that is Hurricane Helene and what has happened since the destruction happened last week, and how FEMA specifically has done such a disastrous job at everything.
That's right. It's also Friday night, so we may be just also scrolling Twitter and seeing what's going on and just popping up some stuff from there. But yeah, mostly we'll be talking about the destruction that is left behind from Hurricane Helene. And I don't think too many people actually expected it to be to impact the regions that it's impacted, specifically Eastern North Carolina, Western North Carolina, Eastern Tennessee. And we'll just get into it, right? Because you would think that a hurricane that is already 300 miles inland wouldn't essentially have too big of an impact on this region. But I know that region pretty well. It's only 2-3 hours from here. When I go skiing, and people don't think about skiing in the southeast like that, but we do have some sort of elevation. These mountains are typically 5,000-6,000 elevation, not like Colorado elevation, but relatively high, because here in Atlanta it's about 1,000 to 1,500 elevation. So there's a lot to discuss, and also in terms of the FEMA response to it, in terms of the state local response to it, what's going on, any sinister stuff, a lot of different footage. So let's get into it, see what's going on here.
Yeah, so I do want to update people on what's happening today. I did make a video about this on my social media. So if you want to check it out, it's Fabian Lux. But basically what happened in the last few days actually is that FEMA, Antonio Mayorkas, came out and said that FEMA doesn't have enough money to sustain itself for the rest of hurricane season. Now, we were looking up their budget yesterday, and it's $30 billion. $30 billion, and they have about 23,000 employees at FEMA. They also did something, which is they gave over $1 billion to migrant services. So they were paying cities to take in migrants. They were paying for all these things, and now they don't have any money.
Yeah, exactly. Something to consider, because constantly we hear that it's a crisis what is happening in terms of migrants coming to the southern border and breaking into the country, and then essentially using all of the benefits that we have, or at least we're allocating taxpayers' money towards handling the migrant issue. And then when it's something like this happens, when a hurricane impacts in such a devastating way, apparently FEMA doesn't have enough funds to be able to sustain throughout the hurricane season, but it did have enough. It had $1 billion, I guess, to spend on the hurricane. Now, of course, what's going to happen is that Congress will get together eventually,
print some money out of
nowhere, and then infuse FEMA with it, and now we'll essentially have enough money to go through the hurricane season. But the fact that FEMA is spending $1 billion on handling the migrant crisis, pretty crazy.
Well, it's actually devilishly genius if you think about it, because they know that if FEMA needs money, Congress is going to overwhelmingly and in a bipartisan way approve that extra money. So if they would have told Congress before all this, hey, we want to take some money and use it for this. Can you give us an extra $1 billion so we can use it for migrant services? They most likely would have been like, no. But with this, they can still spend that money on migrants. And when shit hits the fan, like it is now, go to Congress and, hey, guys, we need more money. And they're going to say yes. So this is like some loophole that they've caught on to.
Definitely. That's exactly what they're doing. Is anything to, I guess, to keep printing money, because I think overall Democrats do want to essentially ruin America. So it's kind of on par with what they're trying to do, essentially, by continuously printing money, right? And I'll just ask a simple question. What is FEMA doing in the first place, handing out money to migrants or having to handle the migrant crisis?
Yeah, well, what exactly is that? Is that in their scope of work or in their purview? Absolutely not. I just pulled up what they spent money on. $380 million in additional funding to communities receiving migrants. So they're paying cities directly with almost $400 million just for taking them in. $110 million to the Emergency Food and Shelter Program to assist migrants. So this is money that should be given to people who are in an emergency, like American citizens. $104 million for FEMA asylum seekers to New York City. So they're literally paying cities and incentivizing them to take in these illegal migrants. And this is what a lot of people are mad about. A lot of people are extremely pissed because this is coming from FEMA themselves, Politico, and the embassy in El Salvador. So these are public sources. This is not a conspiracy. These are actual, the government is saying that they're doing these things. And Antonio Mayorkas just, I believe 2 days ago, came out and he himself said that we don't have enough money for the hurricane season. So it's not like this came out of nowhere. They knew this.
Yeah, exactly. It's always part of a larger plan, in my opinion. But one thing that we should also point out is the lack of media coverage that this is experiencing. It's been about 8 days since the hurricane devastated the region. And even prior to that, there was torrential rain that were hitting the area for 2-3 days before the hurricane hit there. So the area was already experiencing some sort of, it was brewing essentially to be a bad impact, and media didn't really cover it.
No,
I don't think really anybody. I know that the state imposed a state of emergency, but you don't think that something like this could happen 300 miles inland.
No.
Well, it happened, and where has the media been? I don't know. We're seeing posts obviously on social media of people come out and saying that the death toll is much higher than what is being reported. It's not 200. It's not even in the hundreds. It's in the thousands or 1,000 plus. So it's interesting what is actually going on here. Are they covering it up? Are people just really freaking out because nobody really expected this to happen? What I do know is that it took Elon Musk to get on the phone with Pete Buttigieg in order to be able to deliver certain Starlinks to a certain area where they essentially they have no idea what's going on in that area. They're cut off. They don't have roads, just so people understand what is going on. And we'll probably play a video and see it. But again, these are mountain areas. On both sides, there's mountains. In the middle of the mountain, there's a river that goes on. And in somewhere along that, there's a road. And all of that is gone now. There's no ability to access these areas because the road is gone, because of the flooding that occurred and the landslides that occurred, because a couple days before the hurricane even hit, there was a big storm that made the area wet already in the first place. It's a bunch of bad stuff. It's a really bad scene.
And I will tell you, so I've ridden my bike across the Appalachians, and when you're in there, you are in there. There's no cell phone service. There's nowhere to go. It's exactly like I assume what this area is because it's right along that same area.
Yep.
It's literally you're in the middle of nowhere.
Oh yeah.
And so for people to understand that you're literally in the middle of nowhere. I do want to play this quick video of Mayorkas saying that we're very prepared for hurricane season. This is a few months ago.
FEMA is tremendously prepared. This is what we do. This is what they do. And the key here, Rebecca, is also to make sure that the communities who are potentially impacted are prepared as well.
So this is 3 months ago. We are prepared. He said, this is what we do. We are prepared.
Now, I wonder where, again, right? I mean, we're in Atlanta. We knew a hurricane was going to hit us, but we didn't experience any of this. We're not, between mountains, and we don't have a river in between us going and stuff like that. But why was there such a lack of, messaging to the North Carolina and Tennessee region? Did the federal government or meteorologists just not think that this was going to happen? Did anybody ignore any signs or warnings? I mean, again, I know the state imposed a state of emergency, but here in Atlanta, nobody made it seem like it was a big deal.
Nope.
We weren't told to evacuate. I'm pretty sure people that were living in the mountains in West North Carolina and East Tennessee that weren't told probably to evacuate. Is this just a failure to, warn them of the reality of the situation that can happen here?
Yeah, absolutely. And just to go along with that, I do want to pull this clip up of now what Mayorkas is saying. By the way, this is the same guy who was in charge of the border. just so people know, this is the same guy. I mean, imagine how bad at your job you have to be to massively fumble two things.
Meeting the immediate needs with the money that we have. We are expecting another hurricane hitting. We do not have the funds. FEMA does not have the funds to make it through the season.
This all comes as the Biden-Harris administration spent over $1 billion from a FEMA program on services for migrants.
Yeah, and there's so much crazy stuff here, but it's one thing to point out is that all of this, majority of the time, is the fault of too much bureaucracy. FEMA probably has too many employees.
23,000.
Okay, 23,000.
Thousand.
They probably have too many departments.
It's huge.
You know, and probably the majority of the time, these departments don't actually communicate with each other. That was the issue with 9/11, essentially, is that there's a lack of communication and ability to actually move certain important information up the chain when it came down to the FBI or anything to do with Homeland Security. But here it is again, right? Again, we're in 2024. It's not the first time that we've experienced a failure when it comes down to agencies after a disaster. Katrina is the best example of that. And then there was also that hurricane that hit New York. It was like unprecedented. Hurricane Sandy or
One
something
of those,
like that, right? And we could just keep showing ourselves that regardless of how much money these agencies have, or maybe not money that they actually have, whatever it is, they keep failing us at a time of an emergency. And at some point, the American people should probably say enough is enough. Again, I told you this yesterday. FEMA is a great concept. You want to have some sort of agency that is there to dispatch at a time of crisis. But what happens when that agency keeps failing and failing and failing the American people? And
what do you do? Do you increase the budget because you keep running out of money? Like, is that a way that any business has ever been run and succeeded? One thing I did want to point out is the Lahaina fires that happened just last year. Terrible, terrible thing that happening. A lot of those people didn't have any cell phone service. It was very hard to get information out. And this is when X was still just under Elon's control. Now, because this is happening a lot, this is happening on the mainland, a lot of people can go and actually film and get videos out, which is what we're seeing on social media. Secondly, Elon Musk now has a much wider range of Starlink bandwidths that we can that we utilize in a lot more actual terminals, and those are getting there. So at least we have something coming out of there. Unlike the Lahaina fires, where it was very difficult for even journalists to get there in the first place because the fire's happening, flight costs, etc. But we're thinking about going up there, and it's just a few hours drive. So at least we have the capability to do that. And I guess we can get into in a second what Elon was the issue that he had today.
Yeah, exactly. And then I guess we can also, after that, look at what Glenn Beck did, because that's essentially what you and I are going to probably go and do is just go and talk to individuals, like local people, but then also visit these FEMA sites, talk to agents that are working with FEMA, see exactly what is going on, because I don't know, there's a lot of stuff on the internet right now, and obviously this has to deal with death. So anytime there's stuff like that and a big disaster and whatnot, it's going to revolve. There's going to be just so much information, and you don't know what is true, what is not, right? You don't want to just discredit something or whatnot. So best way we can do is actually go up there and do it. So what did Elon Musk do today?
So today, Elon Musk got a text from someone, and it is in his pinned, I believe. And bring it up here. So Elon Musk's Twitter has been going off today. I don't know how he has enough time to do all this stuff, but one of his friends sent him this video of the disaster zone, and it says, SpaceX engineers are trying to deliver Starlink terminals and supplies to devastated areas in North Carolina right now, and FEMA, and he tagged them, is both failing to help and won't let others help. This is unconscionable. They just took this video a few hours ago where you can see the level of devastation, roads, houses, electricity, water supply, and ground internet connections completely destroyed. FEMA wouldn't let them land to deliver critical supplies. My blood is boiling. And there's a video that a picture that his buddy sent him where they're in the helicopter trying to land, and there's a member of FEMA doing this, like, you can't land here.
Oh, interesting.
So this is what made it really crazy. Because once he saw that happen, he straight up he added Pete Buttigieg, who is a transportation secretary, and he said, hey, what's going on here? People can't land. He said, call me. Now, Elon has the ability to have anybody call him at any time, but you know, for any other organization or any other person, private or commercial, that trying to get stuff there, there's no way for them to get a hold of FEMA, or at least the head of the Department of Transportation.
So basically the issue is that individuals who are not part of the federal government were trying to essentially deliver like Starlink or resources like goods, kids care, whatever it is. And federal agencies on the ground were essentially not letting them do so. So what Elon Musk did is he obviously posted that on Twitter, said that this is an issue. Why aren't, people that aren't, I guess, verified vendors or whatever it is able to actually deliver resources? Like, everybody needs to get up there right now and provide as much aid as they possibly can, right? If that means individuals on their private helicopters bringing Starlink to remote areas that don't have any service right now, that is what it's going to require to happen. But the fact that he wasn't able to do that, and then he took it to Twitter, and that's when Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg actually said, well, there's no problem. And Elon said, well, call me because there is a problem. And what happened like 5 hours later? They solved that issue, right?
Yeah. So Pete Buttigieg actually posted on Twitter and said, no one is shutting down the airspace, and FAA doesn't block legitimate rescue and recovery flights. If you're encountering a problem, give me a call. And he said, there are hundreds of reports of FEMA blocking flights. This literally just happened. I will follow you. Please DM me the number to call. And then he said, still waiting. The helicopter is trying to land and deliver critical supplies. What's the number to call? And I guess he finally got a hold of him. And he said, thanks for helping simplify the FAA NOTAM, meaning notice to airmen. Support flights are now underway. Much appreciated. So you're telling me that it took Elon Musk getting on the phone with the transportation secretary to fix a problem that was happening. This is the way it has to be. Like, there was no other, they didn't figure this out, whether they did it on purpose or by a mistake. Like, this is the level of incompetence that we have in the government right now. I mean, it is literally unfathomable that Elon Musk has to fix yet another problem of the government. He just rescued Boeing and their idiocy that they did when they shot the capsule up, and it went with 2 astronauts stranded on the space station. He went to go fix that problem. He's the one that delivered Starlink satellites to the region so people can actually get internet service. And I couldn't believe that Joe Biden actually gave him a shout out and said thanks for that, which was very odd. But I mean, think about where we're at.
People just have to pose a very simple question from here, or a couple questions. It's, why is FEMA failing you as an agency? Why is the DHS not protecting its homeland when it comes down to immigration, right? Why does the Secretary of Transportation not do anything to help with this, right?
Well, he does actually. He talks about boys breastfeeding.
Boys breastfeeding,
so
exactly.
He has priorities right.
Exactly. We can list various agencies of the federal government that have continuously done everything but support the American people or provide the American people the very own thing that these agencies are in the first place made up to do. So what do the American people can do from here? They can continue to say that these institutions and agencies continue to fail us, or we can actually start to reform these agencies, right? Because again, these agencies are good. The FBI, in a sense, as a concept, is good. It's just not good when it's used as a political tool. FEMA is useless when it's sitting there and is trying to hand out all of its money to illegal migrants instead of providing relief in the form of, whether it's federal assistance or actually be a response team, right? It's just failing us over and over, and it's time that we actually do something about it.
Yeah, let me pull up this video because Pete Buttigieg, remember, he said that they're not blocking anyone from landing or etc. So this is what he said just earlier today.
Our goal is to make sure that funding is no obstacle to very quickly getting people the relief that they need and deserve. There's also some safety issues that come up. For example, temporary flight restrictions to make sure that the airspace is clear for any flights or drone activity that might be involved in helping to allow those emergency responders to do their job. Our goal is to make sure that funding is...
Seems like your goal is to make sure that nobody from outside the federal government is able to see exactly the terrible response that FEMA or the federal government is actually having right now. And let's also just not forget that the state government's also failing. Don't forget that there's a military base an hour and a half away from this, one of the biggest one, Fort Bragg or something, that they can essentially dispatch any type of, this is what the military is made for, right? The National Guard and the military. Well, maybe you can't get enough resources through the National Guard to help individuals, which obviously we're seeing you're not able to. So why not dispatch the military that is literally an hour and a half from there? The amount of resources that Fort Bragg has is insane.
Amazing. Yeah. And they have helicopters. They have the Army Corps of Engineers probably somewhere based around there, which does great work. They have all these capacities. They even have off-road land like vehicles that they can go out there and search for people. They have all these utilities, and why aren't they using them? Like literally, when you're in a disaster zone like that, you have no food or water. Sure, food you can last 30, 40 days. Who knows? Water 3 days and you're done. Like, and that's if you're conserving everything. Unfortunately, what I hope doesn't happen is that people start drinking the water that's come from the rains. That's the worst water to drink on the ground because it has all the bacteria, it has all the everything that will get you sick. And now you're more sick and you can't walk to try to go find help. And it's a thickly wooded area. So unless you're in a clearing, it's going to be very hard. I've been lost in a volcano before it was all forest. So I understand exactly how this works. They can't see you. So when they send the helicopters out to find me, they couldn't see anything because there's just trees everywhere. And unless you're in a massive clearing, they're not going to see you anyway. So it's, really sad what's happening right now.
Definitely is. It's not good. Should we play a little bit of Glenn Beck?
Let's do the Glenn Beck. Yeah.
Let's do Glenn Beck.
So Glenn Beck actually went on scene today with a member from Congress.
A Congressman Mills. Are you going to pull it up or do you want me
to you go ahead if you can find it.
Yeah, I think I got it. But yeah, he went on the scene with Congressman Mills and let's see. Let's bring this up to the stage. So,
was it Corey Mills?
Corey Mills, yeah. Corey Mills from Florida, and I spoke with the only FEMA crew we could find in Asheville, North Carolina. Asheville is feeling the devastation, but it's the remote areas around it, especially the people that are living higher up in the mountains, only 20, 30 minutes away from Asheville. But Asheville itself is also like pretty much devastated. But yeah, let's watch a little bit of them talking to FEMA and see what's going on there.
One we've seen, right? In Asheville. Hey guys, good. How are you?
What can I do for you?
Well, I'm Glenn, and this is Congressman
Mills. Congressman Mills, how you doing?
We're just wondering what you guys are up to.
So they brought this in today, which gives us complete connectivity, so we can do a lot more than we've been doing because all of our equipment works now. So they're registering. They're telling them over there. We're over here. I think tomorrow they're moving us over there somewhere more, but not exactly.
And what are you doing?
Actually registering people for FEMA systems.
Okay, so this is the check thing.
Getting them in the system, not just to check things, housing, checking generators.
Okay.
So long housing.
Yeah,
so
good.
Much in the
Good.
But we're basically getting them in the system.
And you guys got here today?
We've been here for 2 days. We got here yesterday. Yesterday we didn't have any connectivity, so we took 2,800 people, as near as we could count, coming through the food distribution line and through the gas station and handed them all flyers. We didn't have flyers to hand them. Our flyers weren't here, but they could take pictures of our flyer. They're surprised.
Just asked when.
So the reason I want to skip is that who they encountered first was just some low-level guy that's just setting up chairs, registering, right? Well, essentially what they're doing here is that they're registering people to receive immediate federal assistance, $750 basically deposit.
Come get your money.
Come get your money.
What are you going to do with the money right now?
Exactly. So the reason I want to skip is because Glenn Beck and Corey Mills, in like 2-3 minutes later, asked, well, how do people find out that you guys are here? And the guy said, well, that's actually above me. Let me let you talk to the person that's in charge of this whole thing. So this is the person that's in charge of the team that's right there.
Do you guys go door to door? He was telling that.
After we get the general stuff done, we got to hit the mass people first, wherever the mass people are. So the mass people are here. Let's get them into the system as quickly as possible. Once we get the masses done, then we start going door to door.
Okay. How do people know you're here?
We just got here.
You just got here?
We were here yesterday.
Yeah.
And today's our first day with this unit.
Yeah.
And then tomorrow we're going to move the unit up by the car wash.
Oh.
Yesterday we couldn't do anything besides give them the information because we didn't have any Wi-Fi.
Right.
I will say, and this is just someone we got lucky enough, Glenn actually spotted it before I did, but I think even having this vehicle more towards the front of the road where people even know that it exists, for visibility, with people coming by, might actually.
Yeah, we were in a van with 8 people. I was the only one that saw it.
Exactly right.
No, that's what we're going to do. That's what we got to do. We just needed a temporary spot to turn around and get things up and running.
Yeah,
And the guy that's running this facility here, I spoke with the manager here. He said this would be a good spot. The guy that's running the parking lot, who's a different guy, I didn't know that. He said the car wash would be better. And I was like, boy, that's really smart.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Good.
that's where we're going to be set up tomorrow.
Good.
And we should be doing registrations. We'll be here between 9 and 10. We're all coming in from Charlotte. He'll be here a little bit earlier. And then we'll start tearing down about 5.
So just to recap, basically they weren't 8 people in a van. Only one person was able to see the FEMA Relief Center. They don't have any signs pointing people to FEMA Relief Center. Of course, it's probably online, but again, people that don't have right now the ability to access their phone or the internet or anything like that, obviously don't know where they're located. So wow. But let's keep rolling.
9 o'clock so that we can get out of here.
Great.
Because we don't necessarily go door to door. It's not my cadre anyways. There's 23 different cadres.
Oh, I know. I understand how the bureaucratic levels of departments work.
Yeah.
So
So
they don't always work fair together.
Yeah, we concentrate in getting people
What's
into
up?
the system so
Right.
that we can
Tolkien,
get financial
88.
assistance right
I love
away.
that.
And it's happening like that.
Good.
Are you guys recording me?
Yeah, he's filming. Yeah, over here. He's
Okay.
filming us.
So, one of the first things that are coming out is special needs assistance.
Right.
And that's just a little bit of into the account. People are going to think automatically that that's all they're going to get. No, that's not the case. That's just the beginning.
Yeah. So basically, again, what you're seeing right there is that FEMA is not really doing much.
Yeah, I would. That person doesn't seem like they have any kind of they're not in an emergency. They're just relaxing. I mean, if things are bad, they should definitely need to be out there really working, not hanging out and say, oh well, this guy said this, etc. I do want to pull up a clip of Karine Jean-Pierre, who is the White House spokesperson, because what she said was actually pretty incredible today. She said that it's false information or misinformation that money is going from FEMA to illegal migrants. And here's what she said today.
Former President Trump is accusing the Biden administration of using FEMA funding to support undocumented migrants. How is the White House responding to that?
I mean, it's just categorically false. It is not true. It is a false statement. And look, the fact of the matter is, I think Washington Post fact checker did a piece, and the headline recently, just moments ago, not too long ago, and the headline was, no, Biden did not take FEMA relief money to use on migrants, but Trump did.
Former President Trump is accused.
Okay, so Trump did. So Trump was giving, okay. And then the next picture is literally from the government website, which says, fiscal year 2024, total funding available $650 million, and then $340 million the next day. So she's categorically lying about her own government's work. And what was interesting is that she said a New York Times reporter just fact checked it.
She actually, no, it was a
Washington Post.
Washington Post. So I pulled up the Washington Post article that she's talking about. And all it pretty much says is that, no, Biden didn't redirect funds from FEMA to migrants, but Trump did, meaning that Trump is the one that started it in 2019. But they're not saying that they didn't spend $1 billion last year on migrants or this year. You see what I mean? So
it's deflecting.
They're deflecting, they're twisting it, saying, oh, well, Trump started it. Well, that doesn't objectively mean that you're not spending this $1 billion a year this past 8 months already on migrants. It's crazy.
Well, the thing is, for a White House spokesperson to point to the Washington Post and say they fact checked it, so I'm going to use their information. Like what? Like you're the head. You're one of the heads of the departments of the government, and you're pointing to a Washington Post reporter to give you the facts. Like that. How weird is that? That's so weird.
On par with the administration.
And then Biden coming out and say that he's back in the race for president today.
He did?
Yeah.
Oh, come on now. Why are they even bringing this guy out at this point?
Well, he went on for his first time in his presidency onto the the pulpit at the press room. So let me pull up what he said here because it's actually really funny.
Dropping out of the race. I'm back in.
What made you want to come here today? Great. Have you been
Fabian, let's I want to put this up as well. So apparently this is Glenn Beck talking about the entire situation in a 2-minute clip. So.
Truck arrived to set up the showers. There were some paper pushers there, and they saw that some just volunteer special forces, guys who were just used to be in special forces, they set up a little medical tent. We had been flying in medicine like not ivermectin, insulin and things. People need to have their insulin. We set that up, and these guys were running this medical tent, and the guys from FEMA come in, and this woman comes over and she says, "What are you doing here?" And guy says, we're providing medical care and clinic. We have insulin and things that people need. May I see your license?
Oh my gosh.
We don't have a license. And she said, well, then you're not going to be doing this. And he said, you're right. We're not going to be doing this because you're leaving and I'm getting back to work. And she looked at him like, what the heck are you saying to me? And he said, we've been here for 7 days. You just arrived. So we're going to continue to provide life-saving medication and you can go away. And she did.
Wow. Wow.
I mean, good. We had to airlift this 85-year-old woman. Her story is just so tragic. She's out in the middle of the hills. I mean, it is spectacularly beautiful there and very tragic. And we're picking her up, and as we're putting her into the helicopter, she's saying, "That damn Biden." I mean, she is. Where the hell is the federal government?
Good for her.
Right. But yeah, it just shows you again, like what FEMA rolls in 7-8 days later. Like you just saw that. That's in Asheville, North Carolina. That video was from a couple days ago, and they said that they just arrived there. Well, it's been 8 days since the devastation happened, and there's been local people on the ground that are not part of any federal agency helping the entire time, whether it's through medical supplies, food supplies, even things like bringing dogs food. I saw that they're bringing, pet stuff and whatnot.
So you're telling me the community is helping and the government is trying to kick out the community so they can run things.
After 7 days of the community helping. Only after 7 days of the community helping. So by the way, that means that let's take the community out the picture. If they didn't have the community aspect of it, that means that the federal
many more dead.
Yeah, so many more dead. The federal government would have left these individuals to essentially let them dry for 7-8 days, right? Again, this happened 8 days ago. I know we're talking about this, but the federal government should have been there 7 days ago.
It's not like it's far away. It's not like it's in the Middle East, right? I mean, we can get tanks and air defense systems to the Middle East on cargo planes within 8 days. We can set up shop in any country around the world in 8 days, but yet FEMA couldn't drive a few hours they're out of Washington. It's not that far away from Washington. It's only a few hours away. They couldn't get there for a week.
Yep. Not only that, but again, remember they got the military, what is it? Fort Bragg right there, right?
Yep.
So, okay, you can't get FEMA in there, can't get the National Guard in there because the state is having some incompetence problems or whatever.
I mean, it couldn't have happened in
get the military
closer place. It's right on the East Coast. It's
not in Hawaii.
Not in Hawaii.
It's not in East Palestine, Ohio, in some remote small part. We're talking about Asheville, North Carolina. I forgot what it was, but Asheville, North Carolina has received some of the highest levels of in good terms, meaning a lot of young people are moving to Asheville. First of all, it is beautiful. The amount of breweries that they have there is the reason why so many young people are moving there as well. It's an awesome area, very high elevation. It's beautiful. and they're just being forgotten. And here's the thing that I think people need to understand, right? North Carolina is a battleground state. So this will have this is as much as of October surprise as we will probably get, right? Is that this shows the incompetence of the current administration. People will say, well, FEMA, that's part of the federal government, right? You can't just blame Biden and Kamala for this. Well, where's the leadership? Okay, if this, let's say this was happening under Trump and FEMA was unable to deliver immediate services and it took 7-8 days. It wouldn't have taken 7-8 days because Trump's leadership would have he would have gone to work as a president for the people.
Which, by the way, Kamala Harris, you know what she spent her time doing today?
Oh, tell me.
It wasn't going to the disaster zone. It wasn't making a statement. It wasn't trying to help. She went on that one podcast that's about sex.
Oh, call her daddy.
Call her daddy.
Mm-hmm.
That's what she spent her time doing right now. Now, if there's any difference in optics, let me pull up this video of something that Trump said, because they asked him if he's worried about losing voters right now. This just shows you such a different type of person towards what Kamala Harris, compared to what Kamala Harris is doing.
Say it. I'm not thinking about voters right now. I'm thinking about lives. And to be honest, it's much bigger than anything else. But we're thinking about lives, a lot of lives lost, a lot of people missing. And that's what I'd be focused on right now. Say it.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. And by the way, just to reiterate, Trump did start a GoFundMe like the day after it happened. And within 24 hours, they had almost $1 million already donated to disaster relief for the people affected. So he's doing the government's job, and he's not even in the government. Frank Reardon said, breaking news, FEMA has issued the following statement: Hail Hydra. That's what it feels like right now, man. That's what it feels like.
Oh man,
what a day, what a week,
what a day, what a week.
Do you think we're done with these surprises? Do you think we'll get any more surprises before the election?
I don't know. I honestly don't know at this point. Right? We've had an assassination attempt on Trump. We had a attempted assassination on Trump as well. Now we have a hurricane. Like, we haven't seen realistically a hurricane have this much damage since I want to say like Katrina. I know there's that hurricane in New York again that we talked about earlier, but
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, at this point, like I kind of just want to stay home for the next month, but we're going to be out about doing a lot of stuff. So maybe we can tell the folks what we're up to.
Yeah. I do want to pull this up. I just saw this right now.
Yeah.
RFK just posted this post, and his post said, while there are no doubt many honest, dedicated public servants within FEMA, the systemic corruption is shocking. We need serious reforms.
There you go.
And he reposted someone, Ryan Tyre, that said, if you're wondering why citizens are being turned away that are coming to help North Carolina and Tennessee, you'll want to hear my experience as someone who has been doing this as a private citizen for almost a decade. And he puts pictures of people just trying to, wow, look at all the water, people on boats, American flag there. Look at all these supplies that they're taking.
Incredible.
So,
yeah, again, that's the right idea, is that like the people that are working for FEMA, they're not bad people. They're average Americans just trying to bring relief, right? But it's the bureaucrats, the people at the top, these installed, bureaucrats essentially by whatever part of the government that you want to think about.
Yeah.
That is the issue that we're having here.
This is interesting.
DEI, I want to say, honestly, think about it, right? Why are these agencies suddenly failing you at the level that they're failing? It's DEI, in my opinion. ESG, DEI, right? They're not putting people not putting serious people based on merit there, putting there to fill any DEI quota that they can think about. And
I mean, they literally said that their number one priority is DEI. So, I mean, we're seeing DEI in action right now, it seems like. I did want to read this. This is really interesting. This is from the guy who RFK reposted, the guy Ryan Tyre, who had been doing this for a decade. And it said that his first disaster area, the federal agencies had US 1 shut down south of Key Largo, wouldn't let anyone in or out, even though the road was okay to pass. We explained to them that we had boats, jet skis, food, water, chainsaws, and fuel to bring these people. They didn't care and wouldn't let us in. It was night by the point that it was night by that point, and you rarely saw the lights of vehicles in the distance on the individual keys, meaning the emergency response teams for FEMA weren't even working. It was all quiet. We decided that we would go in anyway. We filled up the boats and jet skis with what we could reasonably carry and went by water around all their BS blockades, around all their law enforcement presence on the water. It was 87 miles by water to get to the first stop.
Oh, crap.
On the water. That's a long time.
Yeah.
When we arrived, we were greeted by a homeowner who was elated to see us and all the supplies we brought to his house. His house was in shambles. Anyway, it goes on and on. It's a pretty long post, but Ryan Tyre, you can check it out. Pretty incredible stuff. And I'm glad RFK tweeted him. Hank said, supposedly investors are very interested in buying up lithium-rich real estate in the DISASTROUS area.
Yeah.
Which is something we didn't even talk about.
Yeah, we haven't, honestly. And that's something that we should probably point out. Maybe you can start talking about it. I can maybe bring up the map.
Yeah, let me actually play Brianna, our good friend Brianna, made an incredible video about exactly what's happening. So let me actually pull up her video over here.
Yeah, basically about 30 minutes away from Asheville, there's one of two biggest like mining areas that produce like all the resources for certain chips or whatever it is.
Yeah, there's a lot of lithium there. She actually breaks it down pretty good. Yeah, and quartz. So let me restart that.
She gets slapped with misinformation.
Lithium deposits in the world. Well, the DoD had entered into a $90 million agreement with Albemarle Lithium to expand domestic lithium mining for electric car batteries. This lithium deposit is located in Kings Mountain, North Carolina, an area that just so happened to be decimated by the hurricane. Did you know that if an area floods, the government can come in, exercise eminent domain, and scoop up the property for pennies? And who are the largest shareholders in Albemarle Lithium? BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street. But it doesn't stop there. There's another company called Piedmont Lithium that's been wanting to mine Gaston County, but received a lot of pushback from locals and city officials. Well, now they can buy up that land for dirt cheap. And you'll never guess who the biggest shareholders in Piedmont Lithium are. BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street. I mean, what a coincidence. Kings Mountain can produce enough lithium to manufacture 1.2 million electric vehicles annually because it sits on one of the world's richest deposits of ore. North Carolina also has the purest quartz, which is used to make AI chips. That is a $530 billion industry. If you're unfamiliar with weather modification and geoengineering, scroll down on my page because I've made many videos on the topic with government documents to back it up.
So that's a lot of good information.
Incredible work, Bree.
Yeah, incredible work, Bree. Although I disagree with your conclusion. but yeah, it's very, very interesting, right? And again, you know, is it a coincidence? Is it a conspiracy? That's up to people to decide for themselves. But
I mean, it's just crazy that every time we have a fire or these hurricanes now, it's always in an area that they've wanted to do something with.
Yeah.
Right. Like in Hawaii, they wanted to make it a 15-minute city, and then people were fighting, not wanting to sell their homes, and he wanted the new beach, the nice coast real estate. Then you had the Obamas and Oprah Winfrey buying all these houses there, and The Rock bought a house there, I think.
Yeah.
Right. And then you have this happening. You're like, okay, why there? And now you have this hurricane that makes a drastic change. Like it turns randomly. I mean, the entire forecast of where it was going to go was completely wrong. All of a sudden it turns a hard right, and then it goes over this place that has the most lithium in the entire country. Like, what are the chances? And it's a red county, so all those votes basically going for Trump. Like,
yeah,
you know, you got to ask yourself a question. Like, if the shoe fits, you know, it's one of those old adages. It's like, okay, if this keeps happening in places where we know we have the same usual suspects, BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, 15-minute cities, WEF involved, conferences, especially in Lahaina with the WF stuff. Is it really a conspiracy at that point?
I think it's just you know, when BlackRock owns so much of that stuff, it's hard for it not to happen somewhere where BlackRock may have some interest, or you could tie BlackRock into it in some way or another, right? Because I mean, at that point, right, you have to look at what happened in Hawaii and be like, did those wires not fall from 70-mile-an-hour winds that were from the Category 5 hurricane that was there, right?
Yeah,
or did they produce
that crazy firestorm that came out of nowhere?
Yeah.
Like that's we spent a lot of time on the Lahaina. It's sad, and we didn't even talk about this, but Kamala Harris, in our wisdom, taking a lot of flack. I'm very curious to see what the polls are going to be in the next few days. said, oh yeah, you get $750. Basically the same thing they gave the Lahaina people. I think it was $650, $750, something like that.
Yeah.
Like that's what you're doing. You're not treating them. You're not treating them with FEMA response. You're delaying the response. You're not letting people go in and actually help them that are actually helping them. And now you're saying, hey, here's $750. Like, what are you going to use? Who are you going to buy stuff from? There's nothing. It's flooded. It's a catastrophe area. What the hell is that money going to do for anybody?
Yeah, no, exactly. Again, failure by failed administration, really poor leadership skills, or in general leadership, and then agencies that are meant to help Americans that are simply failing them. You couple that together with each other, and you're getting exactly what you're seeing, whether it's in Hawaii, East Palestine, Ohio, now in rural areas in North Carolina and Tennessee.
Yep.
That's exactly what's going to happen.
So think about all that when you guys vote, everyone listening, when you vote on November 5th, because this really is the future of the country that you're voting on. It's not just a person. It's the 5,000 or so people who make up the federal government and all the bureaucrats that work around the federal government. If you want to vote for someone who's going to change things, who's obviously already there, raise $1 million himself, then, consider voting for Donald Trump. And if you like what Kamala Harris has been doing, going on that sex relationship podcast and saying we'll give you $700.
And that's what I was going to say, is that I totally forgot. So she went on Call Her Daddy like a couple days ago, instead of visiting, the sites of what's going on, or at least being around to try and help FEMA get what it needs to. Where does she go today? Where does she go today?
Oh, I don't know, actually.
Well, let me tell you. She does a joint rally with Liz Cheney. And somebody said this perfectly. Imagine 2004 Democrats. You were telling 2004 Democrats that in 2024 that the leading candidate for the Democrat Party is going to be on stage together with Dick Cheney's daughter, and Dick Cheney's daughter is going to be supporting him, or supporting the candidate. And the candidate is going to be thanking Dick Cheney and saying how great of an individual Dick Cheney is. That is what Kamala Harris has been doing today. A couple of days ago, she was on the Call Her Daddy podcast. Good job.
Yeah, that's it's an alternate reality we're living in. And the neocons have affixed themselves to the Democratic Party now because the conservatives don't want war. The conservative party has gone through a switch. Both parties have gone through a flip where now the anti-war party is the conservatives and now the pro-war party are the Democrats. So we've gone through a complete flip.
Same with freedom of speech.
Same with freedom of speech. And we know that the military-industrial complex will affix itself to any party that's going to further its aims. They don't care which party it is, as long as whichever party is in power is okay with them doing whatever they want. So I think we should wrap up. Yeah, we've been on for about 48 minutes or so. Thank you for watching, everyone. If you made it this far, please follow myself and David on all socials. You can find it there in the ticker at the very bottom. I am Fabian Lux, and David is David_Kate, Khait. We do this almost every night, so make sure you tune in. And thank you for sticking around, and we will see you next time.